on the line is somebody that you know really, really good. I really don't need to introduce him, but you know him, you've seen him, he believes in combat. Hello, Ambazonia! Blood, blood! And leave him. Blood, blood! Put your hands together and welcome Comrade Troy, please.
Block by block, rooftop by rooftop, go down, go down. My fellow Ambazonians, sons and daughters of the Ambazonian Revolution, it is not time to celebrate. This is war. It is not time to celebrate. They robbed you of your homeland. They took away your hope. They robbed you of the right to dream of a future in the country of your birth. They murdered your citizens. They transform your brain to think like a Cameroonian, to worship their flag, to sing their anthem, to pray, hope, and dream like a Cameroonian. They took away the land of your birth. They demonized you. They robbed you of hope, of a dream of a future that is better than the one you inherited. They killed your parents, turned your fathers into boys, raped your mom, made your sisters to be ashamed, robbed them in more. They sent you into exile. You lost your neighborhood. They dispersed your friends. You became delinquent in a land that you did not understand. They took away something so essential to your own existence that you live here with your body, but your spirit hovers without knowing where to land. They took away from us something so important that life became something we have rejected in this land. They took away from you a country that gave you hope, built the first democratic system where there was an electoral government change. They took away from you your economic system. They blockade your social system. They crumbled your economy so you could go into their own system to work for them. They made you drive through their own system so you could pay toll gate into their own system. They robbed you of your right to think, to hope, to have a future in the country of your birth. 243 years ago, the Americans told the British that their time of independence was now. They fought for 8 years, 4 months, and 15 days. They lost the Battle of Boston, but they won the war for the freedom of the United States. The South Africans face a nuclear power They face a nuclear power country. Mandela said he is going to die for his people. He struggled in jail for 27 years because he didn't want to bequeath to the next generation something worse than he had inherited. He fought like a valiant soldier. The Eritreans humbled the Ethiopians, a more powerful Ethiopia supported by Libya and Russia. They fought in trenches, in gutter holes, on rooftop to be able to bequeath to the next generation something better. Your freedom is in your hands. It is going to be fought inch by inch, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, rooftop by rooftop.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There you go.
Your freedom is in your hands. It is not going to be given to you on a platter of gold. I can assure you here from Washington, the land of our birth, the towns of Ambazonia will be liberated by the valiant soldiers who on a daily basis lay their lives, give their blood, deprive themselves of something more precious to make sure they can stand for our girls, for our children, for our mothers, for our fathers, to bequeath to the next generation a better country that they inherited. If this is the last thing you must give for your country, stand here in Washington and think of the freedom you enjoy. Think of the millions of Ambazonians who have not gone to school, those in jail. Think of Seseko, think of Deacon Tasang, think of Poundful, think of Mancho BBC, think of Mami Abi. Are you ready to lay your life for Ambazonia? I can assure you.
Good evening, the great people of Ambazonia. Over the last 7 years, the so-called international community, the so-called international system has failed not only the Ambazonian people, but has failed to live up to its own expectations and its own international obligations. Since Cameroun declared war and began its campaign, its terror campaign against the Ambazonian people, the so-called international system, all they have done is issue one press statement, one communique after the next. All they have done is to pass one resolution after another. They have not only failed themselves, they have even failed to live up to their own principles. They have failed to invoke international instruments that could have stopped the conflict and hold Mr. Biya and all those that are responsible accountable. More than 1,000 villages have been burned. Tens of thousands of Ambazonian children, mothers, old men, grandparents, and young males have been killed. They have manipulated news outlets with numbers, lowering the figures to prevent interventions. They started that 2,000 people have been killed. By 2020, they said it's 3,000. They maintained that number to avoid intervention until April 2021, when the Canadian House of Commons were briefed that 6,400 persons have been killed before they changed the numbers. Who came up with a number? Have they done any investigations? According to the Canadian House of Commons resolution that was passed in April 2021, one of the clauses of that resolution was that the Canadian government was going to mobilize the international system and its allies to send an international fact-finding mission to establish the crimes that have been committed, determine the number of persons that have been killed, determine the destruction that have been caused. It's all a joke. Left with no choice, a slow, factionalized international system, a disjointed international system, the Ambazonian people will not wait for all Ambazonians to be killed before the so-called international system comes in, as they always do when it's already too late. Just like they did in Rwanda. Before they intervened, 1 million people have been slaughtered. They came up with the phrase, never again. What has happened to the Never Again campaign? With all this, there are thousands languishing in jails. Thousands are living in the forest. Thousands have become homeless. Thousands, hundreds of thousands are now refugees. This is a war against the survival and the dignity of the Ambazonian people. It's a war we must win. Cameroon, it's a backward nation that we as a people can defeat. We can end Cameroon's reign of terror on our people and end Cameroon's occupation of our territory. The leadership of the Ambazonian Governing Council, the leader of our war of liberation, and the Ambazonian people will not wait for the so-called international community. As every other people have done, the Ambazonian people are now taking extreme measures, things we should have done from the beginning. We must send Cameroon out of our land. We must go after those that are responsible for those. We must go directly after those that are responsible for the atrocities on the Ambazonian people. We must go after those that are in charge of administering Cameroon's colonialism, Cameroon's occupation, and Cameroon terrorism on the Ambazonian people. The Ambazonia Governing Council has adopted extreme liberation war measures to end Cameroon's reign of terror on the Ambazonian people. Today, the leader of the Ambazonian people, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, announced the following executive orders. Number 1, all collaborators and enablers of Cameroon's occupation and crimes of Cameroon in Ambazonia shall have their properties seized, sold, and the proceeds invested in the liberation war. Properties that cannot be sold will be destroyed. This is a standard international practice. Number 2, all collaborators and enablers arrested shall never be released until the end of the war. Those whose crimes amount to treason and crimes of war, enablers under the Ambazonia Justice Code shall be executed. Released enablers and collaborators have become more hardened enemies of Ambazonia. Number three. This is to the chiefs and the funds. All funds and chiefs within the Ambazonia territory who continue to use their palaces to enable Cameroon crimes shall be specifically be targeted. Lastly, the CPDM has been declared a fascist movement and a driver of crimes of Cameroon in Ambazonia. Membership into CPDM is a high treason, and all culprits shall be dealt with accordingly. All Ambazonian forces should take note of these orders and execute them accordingly. Fellow Ambazonians, the international community don't take the Ambazonian people them and take the lives of our people them for play with them. Since Cameroun and the fascist regime, the CPDM fascist regime of Mr. Paul Biya, they declare war on the Ambazonian people them. The only thing with the international community don't do now for write one press release for condemns Cameroun, for condemn the war one after the other. Now for pass resolutions one after the other for their parliaments. The so-called international system, it never only failed itself, it never only failed to live up to its own obligation and international expectations, but they don't fail the Ambazonian people. They don't fail for hold Cameroon accountable. Every day, now only talk. More than 1,000 Ambazonian villages, they don't burn them onto the ground, they need to exist again. Hundreds of thousands of Ambazonians, they don't be killed. For hide that number and for prevent international intervention, the same international community, it manipulate the number of people that don't kill them. They start for toxic by 2019, they start for toxic at 2,000 people don't kill them. Then they start for toxic at 3,000 people don't kill them. They maintain that number until for April for 2021, when the Parliament of Canada it will get a briefing. They change the number to 6,400. And then they pass a resolution. For April 2021, the Canada Parliament, it passed a resolution. And for one of those, it passed a series of resolutions. But for one of those resolutions, now say the Canada Parliament, it will mobilize the international community and all their allies for create an international fact-finding mission and sponsor that mission for go into the Ambazonian territory for investigate all the number of people who don't kill them, so that they establish the right number of people who don't kill them. Determine the destruction we don't take place in Ambazonia, and determine the human rights abuses and crimes that don't be committed for Ambazonia. So that that same international system will be led by Canada, the FIHO, Cameroon, and any person who will be commit crimes accountable. Since that they passed that resolution, they don't disappear. No man knows yet about them. The Ambazonian people no go wait until Cameroon, it don't kill all the Ambazonian people then, and then the same international community, it go talk say it one can intervene. They do them for Rwanda. They wait. After 1 million people don't be killed before they respond. If we wait, now we the lose loved ones. Now we the lost family members. Now our community that they be destroyed. Now we the cry every day. Now our businesses that they be destroyed. Now our economy that they be destroyed. Now our families that they stay for bush. Now our families that they become refugees. So we as a people not feel wait. We as a people not feel wait. We must change how we conduct this war. We must end Cameroun, their terrorism on the Ambazonian people then. We must escalate our actions against Cameroun and all their agents. The Ambazonian liberation struggle, it don't turn na something where they use them for podcast. Woke up every day, the day say a podcast. It don't turn a place where people that they can't entertain themselves. When people that they be killed and lives that they be lost. They don't drag Ambazonian left to right, back to front, up and down. Create all sorts of manipulations and movements and governments and experiments when thousands that they be killed. When I see what happened for Boyo 2 weeks ago, when I hear from who, when I see what happened for Babanki, when I hear from who, the Ambazonia Governing Council, we as Jeune Afrique, it don't talk am. Say that the movement that we it truly fight Cameroun. As Jeune Afrique, it write them for their report for June for 2023. Say the Ambazonia Governing Council, now the only movement where it did directly fight Cameroun. Now the only movement where its actions they be focused on Cameroun, and are the only movement we get a constituted army for fight Cameroun, according to Jeune Afrique. The Ambazonia Governing Council no go wait until they finish for kill our people then for the international community for coming. As a result, the leader of our war of independence, after it consult all branches of the Ambazonia Governing Council and a top strategist. It come up with 4 executive orders for change the direction of this war and take the war directly to the people that would be responsible for Ambazonian occupation. Number 1. Any person who will work for the Cameroon government as a top CPDM official, appointed or pseudo-elected, and will call you collaborator and the other name enablers, will they be responsible for all Cameroon their crimes for our territory. That people they include, number 1, all those people that they call themselves councillors, mayors, DOs, SDOs, delegates, sub-delegates. Any person who will be a member of the CPDM fascist party, you'll be included for this list. Any top Cameroon official, colonial official within the Ambazonia territory, you'll be included for this list. Now, you'll be responsible for Cameroon, their crimes on the Ambazonian people. Now, you'll be responsible for all the people who don't kill them for the Ambazonia territory. Now, you'll be responsible for the 1,000 villages where they don't burn them down. The Ambazonia Governing Council talks in number 1. All these people then, all their properties for inside the Ambazonia territory, it will be seized. Ambazonian forces, they go seize all these people their properties. What did they go do with them? Number 1, the one they will sell them, they go sell their properties. They take all the money for where they sell those properties, they put them for the liberation of Ambazonia. For the properties where they not fit sell them, they go destroy them. The leader talks, say, this one, an international standard practice. That's so the international system you operate. Number 2, for the same collaborators and enablers, anytime when they arrest a collaborator and enabler of Cameroun, their terrorism for Ambazonia, all these people, we don't name them, they no go ever release them until the end of the war. For the one them way, they be responsible, they will be directly responsible for the crimes where they constitute treason and crimes against the Ambazonian people them. Those people them, they will face Ambazonian Code of Justice and they will be executed. We don't learn say all these enablers them and traitors, when they catch them, they release them, they become the worst enemy for fight Ambazonia. At the lesson that we don't learn them. Number 3, this one now for the chiefs and the funds. We take them very seriously. Any chief and any fund where you deliver, they use you and they use your palace for continue Cameroon their occupation for our land and for Cameroon for commit its crimes against the Ambazonian people then. You will be specifically a target of the war and you will be treated as an accessory to crimes against humanity. Last one. The CPDM fascist party, it don't be declared, the CPDM, it don't be declared a fascist movement, and that the movement that way, Naidi run all the programs and the instruments, Cameroon their instruments and their crimes, where they use them for run and for carry out crimes against the Ambazonian people, for commit human rights abuses, for kill Ambazonian people, and for destroy Ambazonia. Any person will be part of the CPDM party for inside Ambazonia. You will be treated as a person who don't commit treason, and every single one, your punishment, na death. The leader talks and make all Ambazonian forces, they take this order and they start for implement and execute them immediately. The war don't change face. The time for take the fight directly to the primary target, it don't reach. The fastest way for the Ambazonian people for end Cameroon their occupation, for end Cameroon their colonialism, for end Cameroon their terror on our people. Now for go after the 4 orders, and for implement and execute the 4 orders with the Ambazonia Governing Council, you don't put them out from the executive office. We always think before we act. We think strategically and put these policies, they create these policies now for take extreme measures because extreme circumstances, a call for leaders for take extreme steps. Number 1, now for protect the Ambazonian people then. Number 2, now for end Cameroon their terror on our people. And number 3, now for end the occupation very fast. We don't determine, say when we make these changes in our strategies and our policies, we go end Cameroon the occupation very soon. Once we dismantle the authorities, I be talk with a Canadian diplomat who called me today. After he read the leader a communique, their head is start to shake. They say, so now that means say the conflict de-escalate. And I tell you say yes. I tell you say, when I be too slow for hold Cameroon accountable, and wanna be too slow for respond for protect our people them, we no go wait. Whether not for escalate this conflict to 100-fold, we go take all necessary measures for protect the lives of the Ambazonian people them. And I tell them, I say going after the primary culprits, the people that be responsible for execute for the run Cameroon in war and carry out the orders of Cameroon's occupation. Now those people, they keep the occupation in place. As I tell you yesterday, without the slave traders, slave trade not for take place. Without the slave masters, slavery not for take place. The fastest way people therefore end slavery and the slave trade, and for go after the slave traders and the slave masters. We must use common sense and things that they don't work before. We must go after the key colonial administrative authorities and they be responsible for the occupation. You take them out, the occupation crumble. You take them out, the occupation crumble. Now then they be responsible. Remember, for every place where Cameroon army they come there, now the mayor, the SDO, they tell them what for do. That SDO and that DO, they be members of the Cameroon military. And so they represent Cameroon colonial administration. When that army they come there, that B they come there, they go follow the instructions of these DOs. That's why we get to go after them. You take them out, occupation crumble, the military become useless. Now they work this ahead of we. All we, not be only the forces. So if you get any family member, when a member of the CPDM, holy ear, drag him. Tell you say the egg of sea and the Ambazonian people them, they come after ye. The population for place where they live, they go come after ye. Make he leave Ambazonia and make it resign from the CPDM party. Number one, leave Ambazonia. Number two, resign. If you don't want to leave Ambazonia, if you don't want to run and you want to stay for Ambazonia, you must resign and you make a public. Resign and denounce the CPDM fascist party. Now the only way that if you stay for Ambazonia, either you run or you choose for stay for Ambazonia. But if you choose for stay for Ambazonia, you must resign publicly and denounce the CPDM fascist party. You must denounce them. That's the only way that if you stay. If you stay for Ambazonia as a CPDM, as a member of the CPDM terrorist party, the Ambazonian forces, they will deal with you. Just like they defied the bee. A councillor, a colonial mayor, a sub-delegate or delegate, a DO, SDO, any person, when a top Cameroon appointed official, or you be one of those people, then when I lie say they're eleguna, Ambazonia will never eleguna, so when I be impostors. When I live for territory, or when I will face the consequences of this generation. Cameroon, their presence for Ambazonia must come to an end, and all these people then, we must hold them accountable. We must do them for protect the lives of our people then, end Cameroon the occupation, liberate the land, so that we feel release all Ambazonians with the day in captivity. Bring back our refugees them, our mommy them, our papa them, our brothers and sisters, where they suffer for refugee camps. If we hear the stories, where some of we will get the privilege for be directly connected to these people. When I hear mommy their stories, It goes 7 years. Amid the sleep of floor. Very terrible circumstances and conditions. They don't be people that way. They get homes, big farms, small businesses. Now they don't become beggars. Because of who? Because of 0.1%. Because of 0.1% of the population. These hardened criminals. Now for keep them alive, may they continue for be what they don't be over the last 60 years, when 99.999999999% they die, they suffer. It must come to an end. It must stop. We must go after them. We must chase them out of our land. Now the only way that with the international community will take the Ambazonian people serious, and they take this conflict serious. When they woke up from morning time, 5 colonial mayors, they don't die. They go take the Ambazonian people them serious, they go take this conflict serious. When they woke up for morning time, the properties of these thief people them and these scammers, these embezzlers, for all the money they don't thief from the Ambazonian people them, when they realize and say their properties they don't turn into ashes, there is nothing to protect anymore. The international community will come running. Until Ambazonian people they show a sense of seriousness for end Cameroon occupation. Then the next few years, it will be like the last 7. You know what make this conflict drag on forever. You know what make more people they be killed and more people they suffer. That's why during extreme circumstances, we must take extreme measures for end Cameroon reign of terror for our land. The Ambazonia Governing Council as the vanguard of the rights of the Ambazonian people, as the vanguard of the dignity of the Ambazonian people, as the vanguard for the safety of the Ambazonian people, the protection of the destiny of the Ambazonian people. We must take extreme measures. You need to deal with a dictator by prescribing principles of human rights. You need to deal with a dictator by destroying all the centers of power around the dictator. For end Cameroon, their occupation, you must destroy all the small circles of colonial power in the occupied territory. All right? Now the sense this of the Ambazonia Governing Council, now the brilliance of the Ambazonia Governing Council is, we must take the war to the people who will be responsible for keep Ambazonia under occupation. Now so you take them for end occupation. This message, now for all Ambazonian forces and for all Ambazonian citizens. We call on all the Ambazonian citizens across the 13 states. Identify these enablers and traitors. Identify these enemies of the Ambazonian people. When I pass the intelligence to our forces, immediate actions, it will be taken. The war, it don't change directions. Now not time for escalate and take the war directly, put down for the canals of the enemy. Now the message this, now the spirit this, going forward. We'll talk about that tomorrow.